Right, good morning.
Chair, the live stream has started.
Okay. Good morning. First of all, we've got any apologies? No? Claire? Is Claire now?
Try to join us online.
Well, she's not here now.
Stay home.
Yeah.
She doesn't know she's going to join online.
Right. Grim Banks, he's in Malta, sunning himself, but he's online, so that's fine. Okay. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any? No. Thank you. Agenda item 3, minutes of Tuesday, the 13th of May. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Any questions on the minutes at all? Councillor Brown moved them, seconded. Councillor Christine Jones. That's carried. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 4. There's no urgent matters agreed at this moment in time. So we'll go on to agenda item 5. Audit Wales Annual Summit for Flintshire County Council. Councillor Linda Thomas.
Good morning, Borodar. Thank you, Leader. This is the audit of Flintshire County Council's 2023-24 group financial statements. Each year, they audit the council's group financial statements, and for 23-24, they confirmed that the draft financial statements were presented for audit on the 25th of June 24. This was before the deadline of the 30th of June 24, which is set by Welsh Government. The quality of the draft financial statements presented for audit was good. The Auditor General gave an unqualified, true and fair opinion on the Council's financial statements on the 28th of November 24, before the deadline agreed with the Welsh Government, which was the 30th of November 24. The Council's annual governance statement and narrative report were prepared in line with the CIPFA code and relevant guidance. They were consistent with the financial statements prepared by the authority and with their knowledge of the Council. A number of changes were made to the Council's financial statements arising from the audit work, which were reported to the Governance and Audit Committee in the Audit of Financial Statements report in November 24. In addition to the Auditor General's responsibilities for auditing the authority's financial statements, he also has responsibility for the certification of a number of grant claims and returns. The work to date has not identified any significant issues. The Auditor General issued the certificate confirming that the audit of accounts for 2023-24 has been completed. There is a list at 1.05 of the report that shows the areas of work carried out by Audit Wales to make recommendations for improving value for money. The report has been presented to the various scrutiny committees, and Audit Wales have confirmed that their planned work for 24-25 is looking at the challenges and opportunities facing the Council that could have an effect on the Council's ability to meet its legal obligations in relation to the Sustainable Development Principle and the use of its resources. The planned work for 24-25 includes assurance and risk assessment, oversight of partnerships arrangements, and transformation arrangements. The recommendation in this report is that Cabinet is assured by the content and observations of the Auditor General for Wales Annual Audit Summary Report 2024. Thank you.
Are you moving the report, Councillor Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Do we have a seconder? Councillor Paul Johnson, all in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 6, procurement reforms, adoption of the revised contract procedure rules. Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Leader. This report explains the procurement reforms and requirement to approve the revised contract procedural rules. The original rules were made 9 years ago after Brexit, and following that referendum, the procurement laws need to be revisited, and the UK and Welsh Government viewed this as an opportunity to reform the UK's procurement regulations. Procurement is a process by which the Council manages the acquisition of all its goods, services, including but not limited to consultancy services of any type and works of all sorts. It includes the identification of need, consideration of options, excuse me, the actual procurement process and the subsequent management and review of the contracts. Basically, it's more about what we buy rather than how we buy it. The resulting Procurement Act 23 went live in February 25, and the changes are designed to simplify public sector procurement, which will encourage innovation and improve transparency. Central government is seeking to deliver a simpler, more transparent and efficient system for public sector procurement that benefits both businesses and the public sector. And the changes have been designed to deliver greater value for money, increased transparency, and simpler and more flexible processes and practices. This new legislation will not operate retrospectively. Existing contracts prior to February 25 are unaffected, and they will continue to operate under regulations within the Public Contract Regulations 2015. In other words, this will require the Council to operate under both sets of rules for some time, and until such time as existing contracts are re-procured. However, the new procurement regulations will apply to all contracts that are awarded from 20th of February 25, and this is why we need to update the Council's contract procedure rules. The rules are intended to promote good purchasing practice and public accountability, and they are designed to safeguard the interests of the Council, its elected members and its employees. The Procurement Act also requires a consistent approach across the Council in relation to the buying in of goods, works and services that we need to deliver our statutory obligations. The updating of the CPRs is required to ensure compliant and legal procurement. CPRs are essential to promote good purchasing practice and public accountability, but they're also designed to safeguard the interests of the Council, its elected members and its employees. And it should be noted that CPRs apply to all areas of Council activity and any type of subcontracting, apart from contracts for the acquisition and sale of interests in land and the exempt contracts, which are described in the CPRs. Compliance with the Act and the regulations is a strict legal requirement upon the Council, and it's not open to the Council to waive compliance of these for procurements. This is the case unless the value of contracts to be procured is below the thresholds as set out in the Act. A more limited form of regulation applies to those contracts below the threshold values in the Act. And at 1.8 of the report, this shows the approval of what the approval of the revised CPRs will ensure. Excuse me. It is anticipated that further changes to CPRs will need to be undertaken towards the end of 2025 to make provision for the additional requirements of the CPP Act. The introduction of the Procurement Act 23 is not just to update the CPRs, but to prompt organisational change around the whole of the procurement cycle. However, with the Council currently facing reduced resources and increasing demand on delivered services, there is, of course, often no easy way to deliver more for less, but the Council will be able to use the Procurement Act to buy better rather than just cheaper to maximise value by focusing on outcomes rather than quantities. As part of the aim of buying better, there will be emerging opportunities to use procurement to explore how we deliver our services, potential for working with social enterprise and local SMEs, outcome-led procurement approaches, market engagement and seeking innovation, and improve contract management. Welsh regulations will come in later this year, and so we will have to review the process. And page 41 to page 114 of this report gives a full overview of all sections of procurement in each service. Sorry, all sections, procurement and procedure rules in each service. The recommendation on this report is that Cabinet supports the amended CPRs and recommends the updated CPRs to full council, and I move this. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Councillor Richard Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think it's just worth mentioning this is recently, on the 13th of June, came to the Constitution Democratic Services Committee. And there was a couple of things which they asked about. One was the length of the document. They thought it was quite a lengthy document, and perhaps thought that there might be what is termed a dummies guide, meant in the nicest possible way, that might assist. It was also confirmed there that over the last 18 months that 310 officers had been trained in it, and they were quite happy with that. I think it's also worth mentioning that the Constitution Committee actually supported that this went to full council in the same way as we've been asked today, with one other addition. There was some concern on the amount of, I suppose, the value of sign-off by team leaders. And so what they did is, as a second item or a second recommendation of that committee was, and I'll read it out because I think it's something we should agree with, that the contract procedure rules be amended to reflect that for goods, services and works procured between the value of £30,001 to £300,000, an additional check is carried out following sign-off by team manager, line manager or other senior manager. And that was just something additional to their recommendations, which I think is a good idea, and it was supported by the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Gareth.
Thank you, Leader. Clearly, Councillor Thomas has given a very full explanation. Councillor Jones has picked up the point I was going to make about the additional requirement for 2 people to sign off a contract over 30,000. A couple of other points just to pick up, I think. And I know Cabinet's familiar, well, a large number of members of Cabinet will be familiar with this, having received a briefing 12 months ago. Clearly, we've got some new members since then. I will add the CPRs are common across 5 councils. One of the things that small and medium enterprises in particular say is that the proliferation of different rules and requirements for every different council makes it hard for them to access public sector contracts. So 5 councils have collectively worked together to get a common set of rules to try and simplify it. So anybody bidding to the 5 of the 6 councils in North Wales will know the procedure, so that they don't have to follow a different procedure for each of those, thereby reducing barriers so that we can spend more money locally. Couple of things to pick up, I think, in relation to contract procedure rules themselves. They are very large, as it says within the report. Trying to do tracked changes in the document is just impossible because there are so many changes. I think one of the key things that has been picked up both at Governance and Audit Committee and at Constitution and Democratic Services Committee, and both of those have already considered the document, is the apparent change in values. It appears as though the requirement for Cabinet sign-off has gone from 2 million to 2.4 million. Well, actually, Chair, that just means all that does is reflect the fact that we're now including VAT within those valuations where we weren't before. So the value of goods or services is still the same. If goods or services are worth £2 million, then we will bring them to Cabinet because the VAT will take it to 2.4. So we've got that. Governance and Audit Committee had a number of questions. We were able, with a bit of offline work, David Barnes is the Revenues and Procurement Manager and Karen Ballas is the Shared Service Procurement Manager, were able to pick up and answer some of those queries. So the long process and the long consultation process, taking this through several committees, I think has produced benefits. Indeed, the change that to which Councillor Jones referred came out of the conversation following governance and audit. So the fact that a lot of members have had a chance to see this has added to the value of the rules themselves. A couple of things then to pick up, Chair, at this point. Next step is to go to Council because these are parts of the Constitution. They have to go to Council for approval. So we would take them ideally to the 2nd of July Council meeting, which means that we have the rules in place sooner rather than having to wait over the summer, because we are starting to see contracts advertised under the new rules. Councillor Thomas referred to the fact that the old legislation will be with us for some time. Any contract let under the old legislation continues to be regulated under that old legislation until it ends. So we've got contracts that have been let and will last until 2044. We've also got framework agreements which were let under the old rules, and we can call down contracts under those still under the old legislation. So if members were worried that there's a bit of a time lag between February when the new Act came into effect and now, I would say you could be assured that we're not letting many contracts under that, because we're still using the old legislation because of that carryover. Implementation Leader, obviously as Cabinet you'll want to know that these rules are being properly implemented by officers on your behalf. What I prefer to call the easy read guide or summary will be produced to make sure that people are aware of the rules. We also have a training plan. We know who has access to the procurement system. So we have a total population of people who need to know these rules, because you can't carry out a procurement without access to the IT system. So if we make sure that everybody with access to the IT system is trained, we've covered everybody who will be letting contracts. And that is, we will have a check-off Leader where we go down and we just check off the names of everybody on that system to make sure that they are all trained and that they know and understand the rules and therefore can follow them.
Thank you for that clarification, Gareth. I think that was very thorough. Councillor Glyn Banks.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to say completely welcome these changes, and I should imagine that the residents of Flintshire will find this most comforting. I would just like to point out one bit where this ties in nicely with agenda item 16 about the Welsh language standards. This is about advertisements going out in Welsh and English where relevant. And just like to say it's excellent. So another step forward in make sure that the two languages have equal footing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Glenn. Councillor Richard Jones.
Yeah, it was just to make sure that there is a second recommendation that, in addition to recommending this CPR to full council, that we take the comments made by Constitution Democratic Services in relation to the 30,001 to 300,000 as a second recommendation. I guess we need to do that. I'm not sure. Be guided by the monitoring officer.
Leader, the recommendation will go to council anyway, because Constitution and Democratic Services Committee recommended it, but that Cabinet endorse it, I think is a good point. If Councillor Thomas is happy to take that on board, then we can deal with that as an alteration.
Councillor Thomas, are you happy to recommend that with the recommendation?
Certainly, Lydia.
Okay, Councillor Thomas moves it. Councillor Richard Jones seconded. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you.
Leader, the next item in relation to the Welsh Government consultation on avoidance of business rates. There are 2 or 3 more reports due in relation to this, because Welsh Government currently have a suite of, I think, 4 consultations that are running at the moment. And I think it'd be better if Cabinet, and I think Cabinet had agreed that they wanted to deal with them all together so that you can see the implications, because clearly Mr Barnes has referred in his report to the potential resource implications of the consultation that's underway at the in relation to this report. But actually, I think it'd be easier for Cabinet to see the full implications of that if this was deferred to next month and brought together with the other 3. I know Mr Barnes has spoken to Welsh Government to make sure that we don't miss the consultation period. They have agreed to extend the consultation period so that we send 4 responses in by the middle of next month. So you won't be missing the deadline.
Okay, thank you, Gareth. Are we all in favour of deferring it? Yeah, move deferment by Richard Jones, seconded by Ted Palmer. All in favour? That's deferred. Thank you. Agenda item 8, Flying Start 2-year-old childcare expansion. Councillor Christine Jones.
Thank you, Leader. Bore da, everybody. Bore da, pawb. Good morning. In March 2025, Flintshire received notification from Welsh Government of the budget allocation for Phase 3 expansion to support an additional 197 children to access funded childcare. This is option 3, provided in a previous report, which was to expand the offer based on the number of children confirmed by Welsh Government, thus to expand into lower super output LSO areas in priority order. Children living in an additional 25 LSO areas in Flintshire are now eligible for Flying Start funded childcare. Registration for childcare places opened on April the 28th, 2025. The early years and childcare team engaged with providers in newly eligible areas, health visiting teams and community settings such as schools to raise awareness with families. Information on new Phase 3 expansion areas and links to apply for childcare were also shared via social media sites such as the Flintshire Early Years and Family Service Facebook page, and leaflets were provided across community places and with key stakeholders, as well as an update to the Flintshire Childcare Offer website page and the Early Years and Childcare website. As of June the 1st, 66 children have registered for and started to attend a Phase 3 funded childcare place. We are extremely pleased with the number, ensuring that we can expand children and families are getting the benefit as soon as possible. I don't know whether Craig wants to add something to this.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. When this item was discussed in scrutiny wanted to better understand how we were promoting the offer within the eligible communities. And Councillor Chris, you've just reflected the work in terms of working in communities, working with open events, etc., to make sure that the message is out there. So we wanted to give that assurance at Cabinet today. So thank you.
Councillor Christine Jones, 2 recommendations.
Can I move recommendations 1 and 2? The Cabinet note the current progress and impact of the Flying Start 2-year-old childcare programme, which provides funded early years childcare from the term following a child's 2nd birthday, and its contribution to reducing inequalities and improving outcomes for children and families. And recommendation 2, Cabinet agreed to the proposed extension of the programme in accordance with Welsh Government grant funding allocation and eligibility criteria, including the confirmed number of places, ensuring alignment with other childcare programmes, local needs and strategic priorities for early years childcare provision. Formally move.
Thank you. Have we got any seconder? Councillor Helen Brown. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 9, response to demand for hospital discharge support. Councillor Christine Jones.
Diolch. Thank you, Leader. Our adult social service team are responsible for supporting safe and timely discharge from hospital for people with care and support needs. These needs can range from being short-term, where the focus is to rebuild confidence and skills so that the individual can return to full independence, to being highly complex with multiple considerations to be taken into account before an appropriate placement can be found. The report today provides an update on the ongoing challenges that not only Flintshire, but local authorities nationally face to meet demand to prevent or minimise delays in hospital discharge once the person no longer needs to be in a hospital bed. It builds on previous reports and in referencing a recently produced submission to a Senedd inquiry on the topic by ADSS Cymru, provides a compelling argument for how hospital discharge delays should be viewed through an alternative, multiple lens in terms of the causes, the context and the need for ensuring that there is no loss of focus on doing what is right for the individual who may be leaving hospital after significant trauma and life-changing events. Excuse me. The management team and officers in social services nonetheless remain focused on the reality that being in a hospital bed when there is no clinical need to be there is not only contributing to the complex pressures within the NHS, but it is also not in the best interest of the individual. The team work within the resources available to take all steps possible to expedite discharges, with some examples of activity noted in the report. In addition, Welsh Government have recently provided additional funding to local authorities to address some of the key barriers, such as the need for increased capacity to undertake assessments, to name one example. Work is ongoing to assign that resource so that it can have maximum impact for the benefit of our residents. A final note to add, as a development since the report has been published, is that the Regional Partnership Board will be taking a lead role in producing a North Wales update on the original Audit Wales recommendations, and Flintshire will be feeding into that report. On that basis, further updates to the Audit Wales recommendations specifically will be contained within those updates to be shared with local authorities. Once again, I will hand over to Craig for any comments he has to make. Thank you.
Yes, since this report was initially taken to corporate audit, governance and social services scrutiny, we have had formal notification from Welsh Government that there will be a reoccurring grant to support timely hospital discharge. Each local authority are in the process of developing a plan for submission to Welsh Government about how we will use that additional funding. So there is an additional recommendation that's been added to this report to that was taken through the other scrutiny committees, and that's recommendation 2, and that is that Cabinet welcomes the provision of that grant as a step towards supporting hospital discharge. And I would say as Chief Officer, whilst we welcome that grant, it will help, it will not resolve the issues relating to hospital discharge. The problems and challenges are much wider, but it's a welcome step. So that's an addition to the report that went through, and we thought it was important that we recognised that step.
Thank you, Craig. Councillor Richard Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I attended the Social Health Scrutiny Committee on the 5th of June. It was quite interesting, actually, to see how the committee understood the whole system approach to improving this, rather than just looking at either health or Social Services. And what was really interesting, when you read the report from the Association of the ADSS, the Association of Social Services Cymru, they had this comment, which I found quite illuminating, to be honest. This was their comment, so I'll quote, "However, we believe the terms of reference to the inquiry reflect an overly narrow perspective on the issue, one that prioritises hospital process over the fundamental goal of enabling individuals to live well within their communities. Put simply, we believe that there should be a greater emphasis on patient outcomes rather than just patient flow." And I think that's the kind of dilemma between health and social services. We're actually trying to do the same thing, but we're concentrating more on the outcome for that patient when they are released from hospital. So it's not just about patient flow. And I have to mention something just personally. I met the OT team, which I know Councillor Christine Jones knows, and the comment within the report where they have assisted hospital OT staff to understand better some of the packages of appropriate care that are available in the communities, which is really important to allow them to leave hospital. And that was a comment that was made there as well. So yeah, thanks, Chair.
Thank you. 2 recommendations. Sorry, Councillor Glyn Banks.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to say, well, first of all, Chief Officer, it's very, very welcoming to hear that some of the funding provided is going to be recurring, because quite often we find in the street scene that it isn't recurring. But so that's most welcome, even if it doesn't cover the whole need. But yeah, I would happily second this recommendation for because it's really important, as this report is about residents who are most likely just gone through a very, very stressful period in their lives. So hats off to all the staff that do this. They're excellent in what they do as well. So yeah, happily second it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Banks. Right, there's 2 recommendations. Councillor Christine Jones, you're moving this, yeah?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I'm pleased to move the 2 recommendations. Recommendation 1, the Cabinet consider the update provided in the report, the position proposed by ADSS Cymru, and the local focus to support hospital flow across 3 general district hospitals, all experiencing high levels of demand and system pressure. And 2, Cabinet welcomed the provision of the Pathways of Care Transformation Grant as a step towards supporting hospital discharge and achieving wider systemic change. Formally move.
Thank you. Been seconded by Councillor Banks. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 10, Safeguarding Adults and Children's Annual Report, including an update on the recent internal audit report, Deprivation and Liberty Safeguards, DOLS. Councillor Christine Jones.
Dale, it's me again. I would like to present the Safeguarding Adults and Children Annual Report, including an update on the recent internal audit report on the Deprivation of Liberty Safeguard Service within the Safeguarding Unit. The report follows the same format as previous years, which begins in point 1.01 with a brief background to the Safeguarding Unit. The unit began in its current form in 2016. It now has 25 members of staff who provide 5 core service areas. These include child protection, adults at risk, adult safeguarding, deprivation and liberty safeguards, and children looked after. The Safeguarding Unit is also involved in work related to these core functions, such as delivery of training, task and performance groups. In respect of deprivation and liberty safeguarding work, 2 best interest assessors are employed to complete best interest assessments, and due to grant funding, we have been able to commission additional best interest assessments to manage the increasing demand following the Cheshire West judgment in 2014. In 2024, the DOLS process was subject to an internal audit. The audit acknowledged clear processes and well-evidenced decisions in line with legislation. However, the service welcomed feedback on areas of the process that could be strengthened, and these were put into an action plan. Actions related to the need to improve some of the systems around the recording of DOLS, information and waiting lists. One of the actions related to the new DOLS policy and procedure, which has just become live. All possible actions within the action plan have now been completed. The remaining actions will be reviewed at the point the new social care IT system is introduced. This is scheduled for November 2026, as it is anticipated to have an additional functionality around recording DOLS work. As you may be aware, a new model called Liberty Protection Safeguards was due to replace DOLS in 2020. The implementation was delayed by the COVID-19 pandemic and then paused. There is no confirmed plan at the present time for this to be revisited. The adult at risk and safeguarding work has continued to see a steep increase as in previous years. This is felt to have been partly as a result of awareness raising work, which the unit has completed. The graph on page 6, section 1.07, demonstrates this trend over recent years. The unit works closely with the Adult Social Care Single Point of Access team to discuss and process referrals where there is a potential safeguarding element. The complexity of the referrals and adult at risk work is ever increasing, but the team has managed to meet the rising demand, ensuring that inquiries are completed in a timely manner and strategy meetings are held to ensure that adults at risk are safeguarded. The next section of the report, 1.09, relates to the Child Protection Register. The unit is not in control of cases presented at conference. This is a decision made by children's social work teams where there is a continuing risk of significant harm to a child. The number of children's names on the Child Protection Register fluctuates as names are added or removed. If there is evidence of reduced risk, they are removed or they're kept on the register. At the time of writing the report, there were 128 children's names on the register. The most common child protection conference category of harm remains emotional abuse, as with previous years. This is often in conjunction with other forms of harm, such as neglect. Child protection conferences are held Monday to Thursday. The team works hard to meet the statutory timescales for convening these meetings. Procedures set out that children whose names are on the Child Protection Register are reviewed initially after 3 months and then at a maximum of 6 monthly thereafter. The Safeguarding Unit supports the work of and has a presence on North Wales Safeguarding Board's regional policy and procedures and delivery groups. The unit has also been involved in reviews of adult or child practice when this has been required. The practice review process has recently changed and been replaced by a single unified safeguarding review, which is SUSR process, which reduces the need for families to engage in multiple reviews. In conclusion, I want to thank our dedicated staff and partners for the continued commitment to delivering robust services in the challenging arena of safeguarding adults and children. Diolch yn fawr. And over to Craig for any other comments.
Thank you. Yes, this is an annual report produced by our Safeguarding Unit that is designed to give you assurance around 2 areas: our performance and response to safeguarding matters, but also our systems to reflect and learn from safeguarding processes. At Social Services and Health Overview Scrutiny, there was a particular interest around adults at risk and adult safeguarding, as Councillor Chris has referred to. In the graph, you can see the significant rise in referrals over the number of years, and there was discussion around how we are managing our response to those increases. but also a clear message from scrutiny about the importance of escalation if demand exceeds our capacity to respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Any questions? No? Councillor Jones, there's 4 recommendations on this one.
Thank you, Lydia. Diolch. I'd like to move the 4 recommendations. 1, Cabinet accept this report as relevant information in relation to Flintshire safeguarding for the period the 1st of April 2024 to the 31st of March 2025 and additional information provided. 2, Cabinet take due regard to the variety of activity across the safeguarding unit and the continuing development and improvement in service provision. 3, Cabinet is satisfied that the safeguarding process for adults and children in Flintshire is robust. And 4, Cabinet is satisfied that the actions taken following the recent internal audit of the DOLS process have addressed the audit findings. Formally move those recommendations.
Thank you. Got a seconder? Councillor Richard Jones, all in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 11, domestic energy team update. Councillor Chris Dolphin.
Thank you, Leader. Hello, everyone. The domestic energy team is self-financing. The team is not funded through the council-based revenue budget, but rather is funded through fees and charges raised against work carried out on behalf of various clients. The team offers advice and guidance to all residents across Flintshire and delivers energy efficiency measures aimed at improving the housing stock energy efficiency rating. Excuse me. Domestic energy team provides professional advice and information to all Flintshire residents, working with numerous referral partners with the aim of assisting families in fuel poverty. Fuel poverty is defined as households who are spending over 10% of their income on fuel costs, while still suffering from cold, damp conditions due to inadequate heating and insulation. The team has priorities, which include attracting funding to help vulnerable people access energy-saving measures such as central heating and maintaining and installing council housing heating systems, solar panels and insulation, plus others. Delivering services to council homes, improving the council housing stock and reducing energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions by delivering a programme of insulation and low-carbon heating installations which involve combinations of loft and cavity wall insulations, solar PV panels, air source heat pump and others. In 2024-25, this included installing 515 new energy efficient condensing gas boilers into Flintshire council homes and installed loft and or cavity insulation to 301 Flintshire council homes, plus other good news, large amounts of money and installations. Flintshire council housing stock has improved from a standard assessment procedure, average score of 69 in March 24, to an average of 71 as of March 25. This is an average energy performance certificate rating of C. In other services, this team also focuses on improving energy consumption and helping people to keep their homes warm through giving information, advice and support via telephone consultations, at community outreach events and home visits. In 24-25, 452 households have received energy efficiency advice. EcoFlex is a government initiative that expands eligibility for the Energy Company Obligation Scheme, allowing a low-income household, particularly those who are vulnerable to living in cold homes, to access funding for energy efficiency improvements like insulation and heating upgrades. The domestic energy team have worked on previous versions of the ECO, which is the Energy Company Obligation funding, and offered to administer the ECO Flex scheme for Denbighshire, as they do not have a team that specialises in this type of work. This generates a small additional income for the team. It was £58,000. In 24-25, we helped 879 residents in private accommodation across Flintshire. and Denbighshire to access the Energy Company Obligation Flex funding and for a range of low carbon energy efficiency installations. The domestic energy team have been working with Wales and West Utilities to operate a voucher scheme for a fuel poor network extension programme, which provides funding for the first time connection of a home to the gas mains network. Mains gas remains the cheapest option for heating homes and is therefore important for low income households. This generates a small additional income for the team. In delivery, in December 22, the domestic energy team procured Warlag in Mould to deliver energy saving measures in the Flintshire area. The contract, worth an estimated £20 million over 4 years, included an additional social value offer from Warlag valued at £5.68 million. There is one recommendation, and it's members to note and support the progress being made to help reduce fuel poverty and improve the well-being and quality of life of residents within the county. Thank you, Leader.
Councillor Glyn Banks.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to highlight a bit of the great work this team does. There was a young gentleman who's really good friends with two of my sons who was dying of cancer, and he didn't have long to go, but he didn't have any hot water or heating in his house, and this team sorted him out. So spent his last few weeks nice and comfortable. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Dolphin, you moving this recommendation?
Yeah, I move the recommendation.
Seconder? Councillor Ted Palmer, all in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 12, Communities for Work Plus update. Councillor Dolphin.
Thank you. The Communities for Work Plus programme was established by Welsh Government in 2018 and is delivered through grant funding to local authorities across Wales. Since April 24, the Communities for Work Plus programme, CFW Plus, has supported 255 individuals, of whom 97 have found local employment. C4W Plus operates across the county and provides specialist employment, advisory support and intensive mentoring for people with the legal right to live and work in the UK. Participants must be aged 16 years old or over, living in Wales and not in education, employment or training, and have a complex barrier to employment. And the participation is entirely voluntary. People experiencing complex barriers to employment can include things such as disabled people, individuals who have a health condition that impacts on their ability to work, people with low or no skills, and carers and parents with children as a barrier to employment, plus other barriers. Mentors based within community venues provide intensive advice and guidance to participants on how to overcome barriers to employment, sustain employment and be better off in employment. Fully funded training is available to programme participants, including support for vocational qualifications. Mentors develop a comprehensive action plan for participants and access and review on a regular basis. The CFW Plus Employment Liaison Officer aims to forge positive links with local employers and businesses in Flintshire. The post works with CFW Plus mentors and business development colleagues to identify local employers who wish to recruit and identify the specific needs of the employer. In 106, there were a number of case studies in the papers provided. Welsh Government funding for 24-25 was over £500,000, significantly lower than previous year funding, though, of £865,000 and £865,854,000, so a significant drop. This was due to Welsh Government budget cuts across the programme. This reduced the team from 15 members of staff down to 7. The reduction in the scale of the programme inevitably means that the programme will be able to support fewer individuals. The target for the programme has been reduced for 25-26 to 240 individuals, engaged from a baseline in 23-24 of 610. This does not result in participants being turned away. So the C4W Plus programme is 100% funded by Welsh Government and during normal operation does not generate any significant cost for the council's core revenue budget. However, the cost of redundancy are ineligible for Welsh Government funding and represent a financial risk to the council should this arise. There is one recommendation in the papers, and that's for members to endorse the report, noting the progress made in delivering the Communities for Work Plus programme. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Chair. If you look at item 107 in the report, Welsh Government funding for 24-25 was 555 as opposed to 865, and they cut the staff down from 15 to just 7. I assume then that will incur redundancies, and I'm also assuming that we would probably have to foot the bill on that. And if that's the case, then should we be writing to Welsh Government asking that any future grants are fully funded, include and take into consideration the possibilities of redundancies should the funding cease? Thank you. You're absolutely right there, Councillor Palmer, and I think we will. Councillor Richard Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I totally agree with Councillor Palmer. And if you look at 107, even there was a wholesome debate in environment and economy in relation to this item. But I think, yes, we need to write to Welsh Government because it's not just this item, but it's other items across the council that get affected the same way. And I know that if we hadn't have deferred the item on NDR tax avoidance, we'd have probably been saying the similar thing. So I think we need to write to Welsh Government and we need to ask them to reflect on the effect of removing funding on any initiatives that includes or shows the financial effect on both local authorities and staff when they make redundancies through no fault of the council, but as a direct consequence of Welsh Government decision making. I think it's really important that they at least consider these things and whether they include it within the grant funding or, as suggested by Councillor Palmer, or they are requested that when they give grants to understand that the redundancy cost that could occur at the end if they decide to remove or reduce any funding for that item. I just think they need to know the effect that's on local authorities. Thank you, Chair. And I put that as a second recommendation if Councillor Dolphin is happy with that.
I think that's something that we could talk about at the conference, really, and ask the question there. So yeah, it has been moved by Councillor Dolphin, seconded by Councillor Richard Jones. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 13, Housing Support Grant Programme. Councillor Helen Brown.
Yeah, thank you. This is a biannual report providing an overview of the Housing Support Grant and details of the Housing Support Delivery Plan. It is a Welsh Government funded programme providing support services to people aged 16 and over, providing early intervention to prevent people from becoming homeless. Its aim is to provide support to secure and maintain housing by addressing problems that they may face to ease pressures on statutory services such as health. 101 provides details of the background and notably refers to the significant increase of 7.8% for 24-25 and for 25-26. We have seen another significant increase of 985,000. Our current allocation is over £9.5 million. 102 of the report details a wide range of housing related support activities funded through the HSG programme. Appendix 1 has a copy of the spend plan for 25-26. Scrutiny discussed this report last week and it was approved last week, and there are 2 recommendations of which I shall move, and that is to endorse the overview. Got the wrong one, sorry. To endorse the overview of the housing support grant regime and wide range of services delivered locally, and 2, to endorse the housing support grant spend plan for 25-26. Formally move.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Christine Jones. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Sorry. Councillor Palmer.
I can just confirm that I have got a registered interest as a council tenant, which I believe means I don't have to declare an interest at the meetings.
Personal interest only. Thank you, Councillor Palmer. So, are we all in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 14, the communal heating charges. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, thank you. Again, this went to scrutiny last week and we had a little bit of discussion about it. There are 8 communal heating systems schemes across Flintshire. Flintshire has recently renegotiated the tariff to be charged for 25-26. The rateable charge for gas has decreased by around 15% for the next 12 months. We are currently undergoing work on communal schemes to move to individual billing for our contract holders. Panton Place and part of Glanamorfa have been completed, and we are working towards heat meters in other communal schemes, with already 3 installed and are in usage testing prior to moving to separate billing. And there was a little bit of discussion at scrutiny last week saying that would we be at risk of people not wanting to put their heating on if they were paying individually? But again, like we are testing the usage, and that will be picked up if we do notice any dips. Appendix 1 has the list of proposed charges, and work is taking place on a further 2 schemes which will be brought forward once we have some further data. And I will move the recommendations, which is Cabinet approve the changes to the current heating charges at council properties with communal heating schemes as outlined in the report, and the effect will take place from the 4th of August 2025. Formally move those recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Any questions? Have we got a seconder? Councillor Richard Jones, all in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 15, mould and condensation update. Councillor Brown.
Yep, me again. Okay, thank you. So this was a report that was requested by Councillor Alan Marshall, and it went to the Housing and Community Scrutiny Committee, and provides information to outline the council's work to address issues of mould and condensation, along with providing an update on the council position relating to disrepair. This is a high-profile topic and concern for all social landlords nationally. We have detailed the process and procedures that have been adopted to deal effectively with reports from our tenants. It's important that tenants are encouraged to work with the council, and ongoing improvements and procedures are vital. 1.09 have 7 bullet points which targets those areas identified, and the message is very clear. Please report any issues you have to the council. There are firms out there that target tenants and advise them to sign off to make a complaint, and then subsequently they advise the tenant not to allow access to the council. This is a risk because this could potentially lead to the tenant becoming liable for any hidden costs, and if they decide to close the case or decide not to pursue their claim as they don't want to go to court. There is one recommendation, and that is to endorse the contents of the report and to support housing assets to continue to manage mould and condensation service requests along with the housing disrepair protocol, ensuring that obligations placed upon the council are met.
Any questions? Councillor Paul Johnson.
Yes, just say that I think it's given that this has been referred to as was instigated by Councillor Marshall. The report is very, very thorough. It addresses a lot of very important issues. I think as a council work, that's a formal recommendation. I think we should pass on our thanks to Councillor Marshall for bringing this forward. Many people, I think, across the county will appreciate the work that's being done, but also some of the advice that's contained within this report.
Councillor Johnson. Councillor Banks.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to highlight the fact raised by Councillor Brown already about the outrageous advice given to tenants by some of these firms. It's unbelievable that they're telling people to deny access to an issue that they want sorting out. It's unbelievable, but very sad the day and age that we live in, where this litigations sort of crept in as it has from over in America, really. But yeah, and I was going to highlight, as Councillor Johnson said, the work done by Councillor Marshall in the background to this. But thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Banks. Right, it's been proposed, seconded by Councillor Ted Palmer. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 16, Welsh Language Standards Annual Monitoring Report. Councillor Marriott Eastwood.
Diolch Arweinydd. Flintshire County Council is required to adhere to Welsh language standards as set out in compliance notice that was served on the Council in 2015. And that compliance notice places a statutory duty on Flintshire County Council to publish an annual report that sets out how it has met the Welsh language standards. And the purpose of this report is to present the Welsh Language Standards Annual Monitoring Report 24-25, which provides an overview of the Council's progress in complying with the Welsh language standards and identifying areas for further progress and improvement. The aims of the standards are to improve the services Welsh speakers expect to receive from organisations in Welsh, increase the use people make of Welsh language services, make it clear to organisations that what they need to do in terms of the Welsh language, and ensure that there is an appropriate degree of consistency of the duties placed upon bodies in the same sectors. The report details the initiatives that the Council has taken, the policies that are now in Welsh, and also details the update in training that has been accessed by our employees. I'd also like to confirm that there have been 560 marriages in 24-25, not the 260 detailed in the report, but that will be updated before it's published on the website. There have been a number of initiatives within the Council to promote Welsh, to include the implementation of Pencampwyr Cymraeg, which are the Welsh language champions, and they recognise the contributions that Welsh-speaking colleagues make over and above their job role to support compliance with the Welsh language standards. We also produce social media videos to promote Cymraeg in a more informal and engaging way. We've developed a Hub Cymraeg, which hosts everything about Welsh in one place on the website and makes it more accessible. And we've officially adopted a Welsh name, Pentre Cuthrell, for New Brighton Village, where residents can now choose either the English or the Welsh version. And we've been used as a case study by the Welsh Language Commissioner for the work that we did in relation to that one. What's pleased me most, though, is the culture shift I see within the council. I see more employees and members using whatever Welsh or whatever Cymraeg they've got in a more informal day-to-day manner. And people seem to be enjoying using their Cymraeg as well. And I think that's crucial in the work that we're going to do going forward. So, I'd also like to give apologies to Claire. She was hoping to join the meeting at this point, but I think there's been an issue at home.
One recommendation. Councillor Glyn Banks.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, if nobody else has, I'd happily second this this report, because really good news, and it's a massive building block for, as in the when I mentioned it before about the tie-in with different items. It's really good, and another massive block, which is the soon to be opened new Welsh school in Flint, which will double the numbers there. That then encourages more people to take up the Welsh language in that area. Then that means it has a massive knock-on effect for ourselves at Ysgol Maes Garmon, where more people then take up the school and go into the Welsh language, and then that has a knock-on effect, reinforcing the strength of our sixth form there, which is excellent news. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 17, exercise of delegated powers. Agenda item 18, Flintshire Libraries and Leisure Limited. Oh, sorry. We'll go to the forward work programme, but that's for information only. So can we now move into part 2? Do I have a mover? Councillor Richard Jones, seconded by Councillor Ted Palmer. Right, we'll go into agenda item 2 now.
If you could just
All in
wait a
favour?
moment, Leader, for committee staff to confirm that the recording and the webcast have stopped. Can we have that